back.
Did you miss me?
I'm here to talk about lots of things, and to start off with, I'm going to talk to you about the main reason I am doing this, to make autism more aware and acceptable, so people understand why autistic people are the way they are. And I thought today I'd start off by talking about my morning routine with Cameron, my son, who is 5, nearly 6 in May. I can tell you now, only now, I see a light at the end of the tunnel in regards to mornings getting ready for school. When he first started school, it was a nightmare. He wasn't even allowed to stay in school for longer than an hour. About 8 months, Cameron had to go to school for an hour because they couldn't handle him there. Hit out, scream, be so distressed. They said, until we get a diagnosis and until we get help, we can't have Cameron longer than an hour. So every day I had to get him ready and go through hell. Not only that, pick him up after an hour. Drop in school, come back, have a cup of tea and go back and get him. And many times I was like, I'm going to give up. And people were like, no, just keep going. I was like, it's an hour. Like, if it was 2 hours, it would be more, okay, maybe I'll push through it. But an hour, it was just like, oh, it was so hard. And then towards the end of the year, they were like, oh, Cameron's getting better now, so we can have him for 2 hours. Eventually it was half a day, and then it was stay for dinner, and then he went to reception straight in full time. Reception year was brilliant, he was amazing, but the morning routine was still a nightmare. So I want to explain to you about my morning routine. It would be a nightmare. Sometimes I've even tried sticking to getting him up 2 hours earlier than what he needs to, just to have him to sit on the sofa and come round. I've tried that. So getting up super early, whatever, and that was hard. That didn't work. Tried lying to him, which I do not recommend, because in the end they know you're lying, which, like, I'd say, what, no, there's no school today, we're just gonna go get ready, go out, and then I would just, we're here now, we might as well try it. It does work for a very short period of time. It gets to a point where he was scared to leave the house because he was thinking, if you take me out, I know I'm going to school. So that was such a bad idea. And I knew that was going to happen. I don't know why I tried it. I just thought, try it. It's been such a long process with Cameron, trying to figure out what works for him. I have like, just thought, I need to try anything and everything. I'm going to tell you about a storyboard in a minute, which works now. Didn't work before, and I told him that. I said it does not work. Like, but I tried it again like 2 years later, and it does work now. And if you persevere with it, maybe it would have worked before. Out of the week, 3 or 4 days out of the week, it would work, and then the other day it would not work. But it's better than nothing. So I recommend trying a storyboard. Godzilla's is number 1. Get anything that they're interested in, and with autism you need to make sure they are interested in it. So what I did, I don't know if you can see, but this is SpongeBob. He loves SpongeBob, and what I found on Google, and I got, the school was so kind, they printed the storyboard off for me. What I would do is I stuck them on magnets and stuck them to this. So what we would do is, have we got out to bed, Cameron? Yes. What Godzilla would you like to choose? And say he picked Shin Godzilla, he would say that one. So we put that next to it. Okay, Cameron, now we're going to go brush our teeth. We would just go through the storyboard, and eventually it would come to the bottom, which is time to go. And he would be so happy to leave. And he would always sing, because it's SpongeBob, if anyone's seen SpongeBob movie, he's like, I'm ready, promotion.
Ready, promotion.
And we would leave so happy. So I really do recommend storyboard. This is amazing. In the beginning, he wanted to rip it all up. The first time he saw this, he was like, no, mommy, no, not having that. I persevered for about 2 weeks. One morning, I thought, I didn't mention it. I thought, I'm not going to get a storyboard out because it's not going to work. I tried. I'm going to give up. And Karen turned around and went, where's the storyboard? So I was like, do you want the storyboard out? Yeah, ma'am. Storyboard started working from then on. So yeah, it was fab. So I recommend trying a storyboard and really persevering with it. Stick at least 2 weeks. Just try it for 2 weeks. And if after 2 weeks you don't see any progress, then I don't know, I would keep going a bit longer. But if you really don't think so, then maybe try something different. And this is what I want people to give advice for. Write down the comments what you think, a different advice you can give to other people, what you do in your morning routine with your son, with your child. Give different ideas so people can experiment, because I didn't have anything. I had other people's advice that didn't have a child with autism. That's where and it's like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work because of this. And it's nice to have advice from people who have autistic kids and they understand the ins and outs of autism, and it give you more of a clear idea of how things could work and stuff, because it's really tough to think of different things and sticking it out. And I went through a period where I would take Cameron to school. This is an example, okay? I was told, dress your child no matter what. He has to get dressed, he has to brush his teeth, and he has to... So I would do it myself. He'd be kicking and screaming, and I would be brushing his teeth, forcing him to brush his teeth, and then I'd dress him up, and honestly, he was frantic. He would be screaming, but I was told, no, you got to keep going. This is what I've been told. This is advice I've been given now. You got to do this. You've got to push it. And I'm like, but he's kicking and screaming. I can't do that when he's kicking. Yes, you can. You got to push yourself. You've got to be more strict. You have to do it. So I did it. So I got him dressed, and then I put him in the car. By the time I would drive from my house to the school, Cameron would be in his car seat naked. He would have stripped off from a temper. So I'd have to redress him. I'd have to park down by the car park and redress him. And sometimes it was impossible to do that in the car, and I had to sometimes put him to the edge of the car seat and dress him, with me outside, hanging outside, and him in the car. It was so hard, and I had to dress him that way because there was no other way to it. He would be that bad, and then I'd have to kind of restrain him and take him to school that way. It was awful. It was such a tough time, and physically and emotionally, because I was worn out from all that, and mentally I was ill. I was mentally ill, which is something I want to talk about as well with all this, is how mentally ill it made me. When you're at the start of a process where it's like, okay, my child either has autism or might have autism or ADHD even, it's like, my life is going to be different. It's like, okay, I'm not going to have a normal life where my child is just going to go and... Every child struggles in life, but then you've got this child who has special needs, which is harder. It's a lot harder, and I really do take my hat off to those who have children who are severely autistic and disabled, and I think how strong those women and men are, that I really do take my hat off to them, because Cameron is only mildly autistic and it's hard. I've struggled, and that's another thing, is I think people are afraid to say they struggle because it's like, well, he's not that autistic, it's fine, he's it's people worse off than you, and it's like, no, it's not about that. It's not about who's got it worse. We all can suffer. It's fine to admit that it's hard, that life is hard dealing with a child who's got these needs, because it is hard. It's very hard. But I can promise you now, from what I knew back then to what I know now, it's a lot better, and I can promise you there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
We did all right for a couple of goofballs.
It is just one big part of this is learning your child's needs and what they want and what they cope with individually, because every autistic child is different. Every child has different ways. What one autistic child might be able to cope with, another one won't. And what strategies, oh my god, any of those that work for one child might not work for another one.
Alrighty then.
It's such a long road. Some people might be lucky and the first strategy... Oh my god, strategy. The first strategy that someone works with might work, and that's fantastic. But if you're like me and you've tried 10 that don't work, you're like, oh, where do I start? I don't know, what am I doing? I've tried everything. And I can promise you're not on your own if you are like me and you don't know what works. Because I think about 2 years I struggled with Cameron, really struggled with different things, and just taking him out. It's another subject I will talk about, is days out with Cameron. Little things in the house that can bug him. I want to be there to explain, to help people. I want people to come to my page and say, oh, you know, I'm struggling with this, and I'm hoping someone might say, we did this with my child and this worked. And that's kind of what I would love if people could do that. And if they do, I'll talk about it in my next vlog in the following week. So, you know, I would really love to hear your ideas and your, oh, here we go, strategies. I said that good. I would really love to hear all your different ideas and stuff and spread it out there, because that's what it's about. And I also want to talk why Cameron has meltdowns. Like, as I'm talking today, number one is school. That's his main meltdown. But I'm going to talk about meltdowns in another video and what causes them and how we deal with them. It's getting ready for school. It's the fact that when you drop your child off to school, you worry. Today's the first day I dropped Cameron off, and he made a fuss about it. So as I was like, come on Cameron, come into school, he looked at me and he just run. That's another thing. He used to just run. I'm going to tell you about that now. I went up, but not as bad as what he used to. So I just went up. I said, what's the matter? Why don't you want to go into school today? Because I'm scared. I said, what are you scared of? I'm scared of school. I said, okay, let's go and talk to your teachers. And they're brilliant. Can I just say, Cameron's teachers and his one-to-one is absolutely amazing. I couldn't ask for anyone better. And I'm so grateful. I really am grateful for everything they do for him. Because he has struggled. They've been amazing with him, and this is another thing, I feel awful for nagging them all the time, but what I got to think of is Cameron's not a normal child, so he does need extra help. And they've never said to me, oh, you're mailing me too much. They've never said that, but I think that sometimes. I think I don't want to be mailing them all the time. I got to understand that that's what they're there for, is because Cameron does need extra help. I am very grateful for them. So anyway, they call him in and they're like, oh, don't be silly, and they're really, really good and encouraging him. And then I've got to deal with the fact, with Cameron looking at me going, Mum, I'm scared. And I'm like, it's okay, bye, and the door shuts. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're a mum, you will understand how that would feel. Come out today now and thinking, oh, I just want to go in with him. So I'm going to sit with him and go through the day with him, you know, because his emotions, that's the thing with autistic kids, they have emotions that are really strong. So if I spilt milk and I'd go, oh, for God's sake, well, actually, I think I'm autistic, so maybe we shouldn't discuss this about me. But say if you spilt something, you'd be angry, like, oh, I spilt it. Now, with autistic children, it's 10 times worse. Their emotion is like, oh my God, no! It would be really bad that they spilt that milk. And if we're watching a movie and that person we really like died in the movie and we got really emotional over it, imagine that's how they feel when they've done something little like that. That is basically how they feel. Trying to, you know, understand why they're so, not over-exaggerating, because they're not, just trying to understand their feelings right now and trying to get them past that feeling, because we want to help them. Imagine him now saying he feels scared, and he genuinely is scared. And that's something I have to deal with now for the rest of the day, is knowing my son's gone into school scared. And he's probably having the time of his life right now. In school. He's probably like, fine. And normally, I haven't looked at my phone yet, and I probably will mail them in a bit and ask how was Cameron after. They normally do, if they got time, they say Cameron's fine, he's settled. So it's like, it's nice to hear that then. Imagine going all day without knowing what's going on with him. It's really hard, and I just want people to know that you're not the only one that's going through it. It's such a tough time, and I worry about him with school, because a big major thing is getting bullied. I'm so scared about that. I can't really talk about that yet because he's so little. There's no such thing as bullying at that age, I don't think. It's just innocence. So I can't really talk about that subject, but that is on my mind as he gets older. That's something I'm worried I'm gonna have to deal with. I was never really bullied in school. I wasn't popular, but I wasn't bullied either. I was just had a normal life, and the thought of every parent will understand that, how angry it makes you feel just to imagine it. There was a time where and when I say a time, I would say a good 3 weeks or even a month, when they return to school, when they have a break from school, so they have like 2 weeks off and then they're back in, or they have a week off and then they're back in for like half terms and stuff. And every time they go back to school, I can guarantee you the first 2, 3 or possibly 4 weeks back to school, I would have Cameron kicking and screaming and punching my face like this, And that I would deal with that every day for like 4 weeks. Taking him to school like, I'm not going to school, no, I hate you. As much as it sounds hurtful, you kind of know. People to probably look and think, oh, that's awful, but I can assure you it's not awful. It's just the emotions he's feeling at the time, and he doesn't mean it. I know he doesn't mean it. Cameron loves me, tells me all the time, and I know the only reason he's going through this and saying this stuff is, you know, and when you first hear, I tell you, when you first hear those words, it is hurtful. After time, you understand. You're like, yeah, okay, Cam, whatever. You get used to it, and I can assure you, if people out there are still getting hurt, don't be. It's not them meaning it. They don't hate you. You know your kids don't hate you, but you automatically think, why are they saying that then? But it's not. It's just the fact that they're dealing with some tough times at the moment while they're screaming those things. It's like us, adults. We've said things and we think, oh, I shouldn't have said that. You know, it's like that. But they don't understand that they hurt other people by saying those things. So they wouldn't think after, oh, I shouldn't have said that. They don't think that because they don't think how much they're hurting us saying it. It's just like, it's nothing. So I'm taking Cameron to school, kicking and screaming and saying all these words. He would grab his teacher's hair and yank it, and he would hit them in the face. And I'm like, I'm really sorry. And they're like, no, it's fine. It's what we deal with. And that's amazing support, that is, to understand that they're okay with that. You don't know how good that feels to hear that, and that they are not like, oh, your child's a brat. They're not like that at all. It's amazing that they say, it's fine, we'll deal with him. What you know, Cameron's really good going in now, and it's because of them. Because of their attitude and how good they are. The support system he has in that school is fantastic, in his school. I remember one morning, it's not funny, but it is. I'm taking him to school, and one of his friends is like, Cameron, it's okay, don't worry. It's fine. And he's like, I hate you, and he's like screaming at this little girl, and I'm like, oh. And I didn't say anything. I thought, I can't say anything right now because I'm dealing with Cameron, which was hard enough. And if I say anything, Cameron's just gonna run. He would just run. Oh my God, he would just run. I would have to chase him up the schoolyard. It's a good job I can run, because otherwise I would have lost him. Then when I finally took him in, the girl had gone, and I was like, oh, I can't say anything. So what I did is I mailed to her mum, and I apologised for the way he was talking to the little girl. And I said, but my main concern is that little girl isn't going to like Cameron anymore. I said, because I know she's good friends with Cameron, and I feel like he's just lost a friend by saying that. And she was amazing with me, and she was like, no, she still talks about Cameron, now his best friend and stuff. And I can't say how amazing it feels to hear stuff like that, because you automatically think he's not going to have any friends. So when you guys tell me stuff like that, it's like, oh, thank God for that. It is a relief. It's a huge relief. And do you know what? It's one less stress on my mind about Cameron. It's one less thing I got to be. I'm like, oh, thank God they. Okay, and you know, kids argue when they make up, but to the extent where Cameron is so nasty, you think that scarred someone. You think they're never going to talk to him again after that. But it's not the case. It's really not, because they just say, no, they still like Cameron. And they just say, you know, he was like, I need sandwiches because I need to be by Cameron. And I was like, oh, that's so nice to you. Like, this was like a week after it happened. And I'm like, so she really has forgiven Cameron after how horrible he was to her. And it's so nice, and it just shows how innocent kids are at that age and how amazing they are. And yeah, I'm so grateful. I really am grateful for that. But yeah, and this is what my vlog is for, is if people have had similar experiences and had different responses, then I would give my advice on what I would do if I was in your situation. I hope I can help. That's what I want to try and do, is help. But when I can expand further afield, that's when loads more people can come in and say their experiences and stuff. So it's nice to know we're not on our own, and I'm right here. Yeah, I'm right here, so, you know, don't be afraid to comment and ask a question or ask for advice. I promise you I will always answer you, and I'll even comment when I'm going to mention that. I just hope everyone's okay and coping, and also during this really scary time with COVID, as if it's not scary enough, with people's mental health and kids struggling. I can assure you, kids with autism. Cameron didn't suffer at all through the pandemic and being stuck at home, but he suffered going back to school. That is the big one, is going back to reality. And I understand. A lot of people probably will understand where I'm coming from with that. It's having all this time off and loving time at home, and then all of a sudden, you've got to go back to school now. That sucked. That really sucked. I hope you're all okay, and please don't get down. There is always a light at the end of the tunnel. You'll have days where you feel better and you're like, oh, we know how to deal with these problems, and then he's back to square one, or she is back to square one. But it's fine, because he's just having an off day. Keep going, and the more you keep going, the more good days you'll have than bad. It's just figuring out what's best for them and how to work with them and stuff. I can assure you I had many off days with Cameron, and I just didn't know what to do anymore. My mental health was deteriorating because of how bad Cameron was, and it was like more or less every day. Say about 2 years later, it was like 2 years ago I was stuck in this rut, and now 2 years later I have one bad day a week, not even that now. So I can honestly say Cameron's days are a lot better. Not because he's cured, because you don't cure autism, and it's not because he's getting older. It's more because you learn to deal with them and help them understand their emotions and how they are feeling. You learn to deal with them and how they deal with themselves, and therefore that makes everyone happy and it makes everyone feel better. Yay! So that's what we want, and that's what we are here for. If something doesn't work with you, I'm here to give you advice to try something different. So I love you guys so much, and I will love you and leave you, and I will see you next week, and we will talk about meltdowns and taking Cameron out and about. Stay safe, stay away from that nasty bug that's going round, which I tell Cameron, the nasty bug that's going round, aka COVID. Bye guys, love you. If you like our videos, hit the like button. Hit that subscribe button down there. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Have fun.